told my husband 3 months ago that I thought divorce was the best idea, that it was time. And I said it calmly, no yelling, no threats, just truth. And I think that's what threw him off because he heard me, but he didn't believe me. And I remember just staring at him with like a slow blink, like, you still don't see me. Even in your heartbreak, I'm still invisible. And that was the quietest kind of closure. I'd already said everything I needed to say. He was just now realizing what I had already survived. You can love somebody and still refuse to drown for them. That's not cruelty, that's clarity.
What it does is, though, it's making me want to make sure that my wife doesn't feel like this. And I think that for most men, we get to be in denial until we can no longer be in denial. Right? I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, I talk about this with my wife sometimes too. Like, I think I've just gotten to a place where maybe I've overcorrected. Maybe I've overcorrected because I really believe that like men are as bad as I think. Like, I know how to say it. It's like I think that men are just as bad. Men are just as bad as I think we are. Like, I believe that. And I was talking about this with my friends today, but like sometimes I may be projecting, right? So, I say stuff about men because I've done it or because I've seen a bunch of men do it or whatever. Things that can't like necessarily be like scientifically proven or whatever, just observable, truths or whatever. I get to a place sometimes where I'm like, am I projecting? Is that just me? Is that not most men? But then I come across these stories and I'm like, nope. right when I want to think like maybe it's not most men, maybe it's just the men I know, maybe it's just me. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This story is so relatable. If you are a man, if you're being honest, if you're being honest, if you're a married man, if you're an engaged man, if you're a man that has been or is in a long-term relationship, I almost guarantee you we've all been here. As the man, I'm saying. We've all been here. If not, like, if it didn't, we've been in this area. This has happened to us. Again, maybe it's just me. I've been here. I've had this conversation with my wife before, right? Something similar, same vein, I would say. Not the exact same conversation, but same vein. And that's when it's like, is that just me? But no. But then it's like every man I know. I don't know any man that hasn't had this conversation with their wife. I don't know any man that hasn't driven their wife to this point at some point in time in their relationship. Maybe not even in their marriage. Maybe it was prior to them being married. But I'm saying at some point in time, women have felt like this, like in their relationship. Therefore, I have to believe that damn near every man or most men have drove a woman to this point.
I told my husband 3 months ago that I thought divorce was the best idea, that it was time. And I said it calmly, no yelling, no threats, just truth. And I think that's what threw him off because he heard me, but he didn't believe me. In hindsight, I think he looked at me like, this girl just venting. Maybe he even thought I was tired and I get over it like I always have before. He gave me space after that. Not the kind that brings peace, the kind that feels like distance dressed up as patience. Maybe deep down he thought the space would make me miss him, make me come to my senses, if you will. Hell, maybe he was just hoping the silence would magically reset things without him having to actually do any work. But all it did was give me room to see the truth more clearly. And then there was that night. I don't even remember what started the conversation. Maybe something about money or logistics shit. I don't know. But something in that moment must have clicked for him because suddenly he realized I was serious about the divorce. I literally saw the realization wash over his face. So after that, he kept coming in and out of the room like he just couldn't sit with it. He kept asking me,
Is this for real? Are we done?
and I know I had to have been looking at him like he just grown another whole ass head because I'm like, Negro, I said I thought this was over 3 months ago. When he did finally sit down to collect himself, it wasn't beside me, it was on the floor. Like he just needed proximity, like being near me might change my mind. Then he started talking, this long monologue about his feelings, about why he felt disconnected over the years, how he didn't know how to communicate. He was never taught, how he couldn't picture me with anyone else. And the whole time I'm just sitting there listening.
Wait, you couldn't picture her with anyone else? Why? why? Why wouldn't? Shouldn't you not be able to picture yourself with anyone else? Why would you? That's weird.
Not arguing, not interrupting, just watching him, realizing he was still making it all about him. There were no questions about how I felt, no curiosity, no pause, no reflection, just more words. Never a moment of, damn, I don't think I ever really saw her. It was all him, 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 him. His pain, his fear, his confusion. And I remember just staring at him with like a slow blink, like, you still don't see me. Even in your heartbreak, I'm still invisible. And that was the quietest kind of closure, realizing that even in the moment he finally got it, he still didn't. Because this whole thing, even the ending, was still being narrated from his perspective. And I was just done at that point. I was done being an extra in a story that was supposed to be ours. And so I finally asked him, did you really think that I was bluffing this whole entire time? And this fool said, yeah. And that pissed me the fuck off. Not because he said it, but because it proved he never actually taken me seriously. He thought my pain was a performance, like I was just trying to get his attention.
Because that's what men do. That's what men do. That's the stonewalling, like you know what I mean? Like she was saying, like distance, like the men will create distance and act like it's to give you space, but really it's to isolate you. That's the shit that men do. So he was just projecting, like, oh, I would have done all of this and it would have been a performance. I wouldn't have been serious about this. If I did this, it would have been 100% a performance. It would have been a way to manipulate you. And I think that is one of the gravest mistakes that men make when it comes to, dealing with women, is that we think that because we're so shitty, we assume, oh, everybody must be this shitty. Everybody must be this shitty. Again, like I was saying in the beginning, there's a fine line. Okay, I have done similar things or this thing or, whatever the case may be. And I don't want to, put that jacket on every man, right? But when I see these situations happen over and over and over again, I'm like, okay, so it does come off like it does seem like most men do this or some approximation to this. But you don't see women doing this often. You don't hear this coming from men often. Like, not like, you know what I mean? And you, as a man, you need to sit with that and understand and I don't want to gender it too much. It's not like I'm saying like, because nothing that I'm saying, I believe that men and women are so different, like naturally. It's just how we're socialized, right? But women don't operate like this the majority of the time, the way that her husband is operating. So you have to get that out of your mind. You have to stop thinking that because you're cheating, she's cheating. Because you're lusting after every woman you see, she's lusting after every man she sees. You know what I'm saying? Like so on and so on and so on. That's just, most of the time, it's not the case. It be us. It be us most of the time.
Attention. Meanwhile, I had been grieving us quietly for months, crying before work, crying after work, snotting all over every goddamn thing, doing what women do when we've already decided but haven't said it out loud yet, mourning the relationship in real time while still showing up like everything is fine. So by the time he had this breakdown, I was cool as a motherfucking cucumber. He kept looking at me and asking, how did you get over this so fast? And I wanted to say fast. Maybe there was nothing fast about this. I've been grieving this ending for months. You just never noticed. But I didn't say that. That night, I didn't raise my voice, didn't gloat, didn't say I told you so, nothing. Because there was nothing left to say. I'd already said everything I needed to say. He was just now realizing what I had already survived. And that's the part that people don't understand. When a woman finally looks calm, that's not detachment. That's completion. By the time I said I was done, I'd already done the grieving, the forgiving, the mental unpacking. I had already let go. He was just late to the realization. And that's the heartbreak people don't talk about. When you've already buried the version of yourself that used to beg to be heard, and they finally decide to start listening. So if you've ever felt yourself in my story and just need a way to check in with where you are, I built something that can help you with that.
That is amazing. She worded that beautifully and perfect. Exactly what she's describing, though, when she says that she was, you know, mourning the loss of their relationship and she kind of processed most of it in those last 3 months. And, she still showed up. Um, that is what men are talking about when they say, I never saw it coming. But that's why it's a lie, though, because she already told you that she was disgruntled. She already told you that she wanted out. She had already spoken that, right? But you being dense and daft and dumb didn't take it seriously. And she said, okay. And she just planned her exit and took her time and processed everything. And yeah, that's why now you're like, what? It came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. Be real, be honest. It didn't come out of nowhere. And she said that this wasn't the first time that you guys have had that conversation. So you can't even say that. Like, you know what I mean? Like all the time you guys been together, it's not the first time she said, let's get a divorce. Not the first time that's been an option on the table. That's great. Like, that's nuts. That's crazy.
You know what broke me? Realizing that most women aren't divorcing because they stopped loving their husbands. They're divorced because they got tired of raising grown men. So we were taught to call it partnership, but most of us were just performing emotional CPR, holding everything together, the house, the kids, his moods, his dreams, while slowly losing ourselves in the process. And here's the wild part. It's not always because he's a bad person. It's because the world raised him to survive through pressure and raised us to survive through caretaking. So now you got a man who doesn't know how to sit with his emotions and a woman who's been trained to absorb them. See, that's not intimacy. That's imbalance. So I learned a lot about this from a woman who actually disguised herself as a man for 18 months to study what it's like to live on the other side. And what she found wasn't freedom, it was loneliness. Male loneliness epidemic, anyone? So she said the biggest thing she saw was how emotionally starved men are, how desperate they are for softness they don't even know how to receive. And when they finally find it in a woman, they cling to it, not realizing that love isn't meant to be a life raft. So now women everywhere are waking up saying, I'm fucking done mothering grown men. I'm done confusing empathy with endurance. And maybe that's why we're seeing this like wave of women choosing peace over marriage, because we finally realize peace is the partnership we were looking for all along. So if you want to read what opened my eyes to this, it's a book called Self-Made Man by Nora Vincent. It's wild. But here's the truth I took from it. We can understand why men are the way they are without sacrificing ourselves to try to fix it. Because compassion without boundaries turns into self abandonment real quick. So, yes, we can empathize. Yes, we can see their struggle, but we don't have to keep carrying it, because love without reciprocity isn't healing. It is slow erosion. And I don't know about you, but I've rebuilt myself once already. I'm not doing it again just to make someone else feel whole. You can love somebody and still refuse to drown for them. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. You can love somebody and still refuse to drown for them. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. So if you want to keep unpacking stuff like this, come to the speak.
Man, she got the word with her. I listening to this as a man, it doesn't trigger me, right? None of this applies to me. In reverse, I'm saying, like, I'm not, my wife doesn't make me feel the way that she feels. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not experiencing it. I'm the man in the situation she's describing, and I'm not triggered by it one bit. What it does is, though, it's making me want to make sure that my wife doesn't feel like this, if that makes sense. Like, that's the thing that it's doing for me the most. That's why I love consuming this content so much. And that's why I like listening to women so much, because my wife says all of this stuff to me in various ways or whatever. But my wife has said all of these things to me before in our relationship. Um, and I think that for most men, we get to be in denial until we can no longer be in denial, right? Because, not to blame women, but women accommodate our denial, right? Women still show up for us. Women suffer in silence. Like women actually suffer in silence. We don't. We don't suffer in silence. Everybody, when we're suffering, everybody knows. When a man has a bad day, everybody knows. When a man's if a man's sports team loses, everybody knows. If a man's sports team wins, everybody knows. Like men are not suffering in silence at all. Women are. We don't know. Men don't know shit. Men don't know how women are feeling on a day to day because men don't check in with them because men don't care. Men aren't observing. Men don't care what women are going through. They don't care that women are struggling with certain things, or when they see that, they're not trying to make a woman's life easier or anything like that. They don't care if they add to the workload of a woman. Like that's her job. She's a woman. That's what's supposed to happen. She's a woman. Who cares? All right. That's how a lot of men get down. And eventually women, they run out of fucks to give, relatively speaking. They run out of fucks to give. And that's how they end up here at this place. So as a man, if you don't want your woman to arrive at this place, you have to start doing the work now. You got to steer the ship in another direction, in a better direction. And let her be the lighthouse. Let her be the beacon, right? Calling you home. Right? I don't want to play the game of like happy house, happy spouse. No, happy wife, happy life. Yeah. It's a real thing for a reason. Because what you guys have to understand, and if you're being honest as a man, do you think your wife is trying to manipulate you? To any man that doesn't believe in the adage, happy wife, happy life. If you don't believe in that, do you believe your wife is trying to manipulate you? Do you truly believe that your wife doesn't have your best interest at heart? If you believe that, I implore you to leave that woman. I don't think anybody in here would think it was crazy if you left the person who you believe didn't have your best interest at heart. That's man or woman. The difference is, though, women are expected to stay with men even though most men don't have her best interest at heart. Women are conditioned to stay, and men are conditioned to be selfish. You see what I'm saying? But I don't think it's a wild concept to leave a person when you have come to the conclusion or the realization that they don't have your best interest at heart, male or female, man or woman. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter one bit. So if that's what you truly believe, man, take it from me. Leave that woman. Absolutely. You have my blessing. I will not judge you. If you know that woman don't have your best interest at heart, leave her. And I don't think anybody would condemn you for doing so. Nobody would, right? But if you do believe that she has your best interest at heart, then I implore you to listen to her. With everything you have, try to absorb what she is telling you. Really, really try. Really try. Because she has the answer. Like, there is no better source than her when you're in the relationship with that person. She is the source. Listen to her. She's telling you, listen to her. That's it. Or you're going to end up like this woman's husband. You're going to end up on the outside. You're going to end up picking up the pieces, wondering what happened, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? So you choose.